You don't even like Jolly Ranchers, do you? Do you like them? You can give it to someone next to you. And we're going to use trig ratios. So you may want to rewrite this at the top of your notes so that it's just there ready to go. This is my apple. This is how good I can draw. This is why I don't draw things like this. This is the extent of my artistic ability. It needs a leaf or something, doesn't it? Okay, so put that at the top. This stands for sine, opposite, some honoring horses, opposite over hypotenuse. Can't always have tons of apples. That's going to be helpful for today. Maybe try to do it without looking. Oh, I do need to go over this. Okay, on your calculator. If you don't have your calculator, you're going to need it today, so go grab it. And then check at the top. If somebody has reset your calculator back to the factory settings, it's in radian. So right here, yours will say radian. If yours says radian, you're going to get all the wrong answers for every single problem on the worksheet. The difference between radian and degree is kind of like the difference between Celsius and Fahrenheit. They both measure temperature, but the numbers have nothing in common. So same idea here. Radians is a way to measure an angle. It doesn't have anything. Cosine, sine, and tangent are in degrees. So does anyone not say degree? Okay, push your mode button. It's next to the blue second button. It says M-O-D-E. You'll push mode. Why aren't you working? And then you're going to come down to where it says degree and push enter. Once it's flashing the degree, push enter, and it should change it up here. And then you can push second and mode again because it'll quit. See how it says quit above mode? So second mode will quit. It'll take it back out of that. Claire will take you out also? Okay. We need them to be in degree, yes. So if yours says radian, go into mode and change it to degree so you can get the right answers today. You don't want to do all this hard work. I do not know why I have so many tabs open. So if you want to double check, type in sine. Do you guys all see sine, cosine, tangent? If you type in sine of 30, it should be 1/2. If it's not 1/2, yours is still in radian. Okay. I delete this. Sorry, something about the notes I don't like today. Okay, please draw this picture and we're going to start setting these up. Holy cow, Alabama's killing Texas A&M. Okay, so this first example we're going to do, you could use 30, 60, 90. This is going to show you the comparison. So if this was 30, 60, 90, what do you think the x will be? Do you guys all remember those rules? We have a lot of things we're throwing out. So anyhow, if you, at the end of the day, can't remember 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45, 90, you can use trig functions. Okay, as I look at this, I can see the angle I'm talking about. This is my theta. So I need to kind of think about what other sides they gave me. Which one is the hypotenuse? X. X is the hypotenuse. So sometimes some of you would be helpful to put a little h by it. So I've got my hypotenuse. Looking back at the 30. Yes, sir? They didn't give me that one. It's whichever one's written in your picture. They'll only have one of them written in there. Okay. This side is touching the 30, so it's the adjacent side. This one is across from it, so this is the opposite side. Now you decide, Which trig function requires opposite and hypotenuse? Is it sine, cosine, or tangent? So we've seen adjacent. So to solve this, we write in sine. Instead of theta, we'll put this 30 degrees. These are ratios that all triangles, right triangles have. Okay, then we do opposite over hypotenuse. And we're not doing many examples, so please be writing these down. I don't mind answering questions, but not if I just taught it 2 seconds ago. Okay, so we need to find the value of x. And again, we already know because of the 30, 60, 90. We already know what it's going to be, but I'm showing you a different way to solve that. Okay, I want to solve for x. Any idea how I solve for x when it's in the denominator? Yes, let's get it in the numerator. So please write these steps down. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we've got x times the sine of 30 degrees. What is x divided by x? 1. So when I cross it out, it doesn't disappear. It becomes a 1. And 10 times 1 is 10. So usually we just cross it off as though it's just gone, but it becomes a 1. All right, there's one more step to get the x by itself. The sine and the 30 are a package deal right here. So just treat it like any other algebraic expression. We're going to divide this side by sine of 30, because sine of 30 divided by sine of 30 will be 1. Do you need paper? Or are you just ready to go run? You ready? Okay, go ahead. Run fast. Jump far. Throw hard. Don't trip and fall on your face. We have a lot of runners, throwers, and jumpers. Okay. Like I said a minute ago, algebraically, when you divide something by itself, it becomes a 1. Okay, go to your calculators. X equals, was it 10? Divided by, we've got sine, cosine, and tangent. So you hit the sine, and it's going to tell us what the length of that side is. We already know because it was a special right triangle. So this is just verifying that this method will work. So sine just means it's a ratio of the opposite side to the hypotenuse. So all these are ratios that with right triangles, they can help you find missing sides or missing angles. Okay, so back on this one, we found the x equals 20. That's not a surprise if you remember the 30, 60, 90 rules. We know that the short leg times 2 is the hypotenuse. Okay, the rest of them that we are doing, actually there's a few special right triangles, so you can use those rules if you'd like. But the rest of them are going to be weird angles. I wish I didn't have all this stuff on here. All right, decide if you're going to use sine. And there's like majorly a hint on the board because I don't know who made this. Since it's 37, the only method we know is the tangent ratio, or excuse me, the trigonometry ratios. So again, when you see your picture, label the hypotenuse. That seems to be the easiest one. So draw this picture of this triangle, label the 37, the x, and the 10. Levi, is the 10 considered opposite or adjacent to the 37? Yes. We don't have the adjacent side. I always do hypotenuse first because the hypotenuse is adjacent to it, but it can't have two names. So if I label it as a hypotenuse first, it takes that out of my brain. Okay, which trig function requires the opposite and the hypotenuse? Sine. So we write sine. Now it's not theta today. Well, not until the back of our worksheet. I almost wrote theta anyway. We write the angle. And then we can write our ratio, which is 10 over x. Solve for x. If you can remember from the previous slide, go ahead and solve for x. So Tyson, what's the first thing that I do so that I can find out what x is? You're not sure? Jeremy, did you listen on that other page? What do I do to get this x by itself? Yeah, we need it in the numerator. To get it alone, it's got to be in the numerator. So we start by multiplying both sides by x. This is going to cross cancel. Some of you are going to find a faster way to do it. I'm not going to show that on the board because you shouldn't teach the shortcut right away. Okay, but you'll see a pattern. Martha, what do I do now to find out what x is equal to? And they are a package deal on these. So put that into your calculator. And it should be bigger than 10, right? Because it's our hypotenuse. That's one way you can kind of check. So if your number is smaller than 10, we must have done something wrong because this is our hypotenuse. It should be the longest side. Why do you think it's wrong? All right, Miles, what did you get for x? Did you put that in your calculator? And the homework does say to round to the nearest tenth, so that's perfect. Okay, the next one we're going to do, I'm going to have you set it up by yourself, so make sure you draw the picture. I'll get you started, and I want you to solve it, and then we'll kind of compare answers with our table partners. Huh? Yes? Okay, draw this picture. We're going to try to find x. So can you see that we can't use the Pythagorean theorem because we only know one side. So this is really helpful that we can find all those missing pieces. Thank you. I have not been picking my copies up. I haven't been down there for a while. So draw this picture. Label which side is your hypotenuse, which side is adjacent, which side is opposite. Do you need paper again? There's some back there. Okay, you might want to write an example down. Probably get your paper out. Alyssa, which one's the hypotenuse? The 10, the x, or the empty side? The x. Tristan, is the 10 adjacent or opposite? What makes it adjacent? So this is the 37-degree angle. If the side that we're talking about creates that 37 degrees, it's called adjacent. The opposite one doesn't touch it at all. It's almost like across the room. All right, Emma, which trig function uses the adjacent side and the hypotenuse? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Yes. So this is the first one. Don't do sine every single time. We have to use cosine. because they gave us the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. So if you haven't solved this one, go ahead and solve it. Yes. Once you've solved this, if you notice that your neighbor is also done writing, compare your answers. Let's make sure we're all getting the same thing. If your neighbor is shy, you don't have to say anything. Just put your paper on their desk, and they can give you a thumbs up. Again, the same thing as Porter. It's not quite done yet. Oh, he needs some help.
So then you times it by x on both sides.
Like an inverse operation. Equals what? Mm-hmm. All right, Grace, what do I need to do to solve this? Yeah, because I've got to have it in the numerator. I'm not even going to rewrite everything. Divide everything by cosine 37. There's one more concept. No, that's the same concept. That's the same concept, just a different function. We need to learn how to use the inverse. Okay, these, when you divide something by itself, what did you get when you typed that in? 12 something, right? If you didn't get that, make sure you ask your neighbor to show you one more time. Maybe the way they say it will sink in better than the way I'm saying it. All right, are there any questions with how to set up with the picture, how to know to use sine, cosine, and tangent? That seems to be the biggest question with my fourth period class. How do you know which one to use? So just label. When you get a new picture, label them. This is my hypotenuse. This is touching the 37, so it's adjacent. I use cosine. Right? Okay. Is this the one? Yes. Please draw. We have not done an example like this yet. It's an easier example. But if we haven't done one, it's going to mess you up. So write this one down. And then after this, I'll teach you the inverse. Oh, can I put your phone in the pocket? What number are you? 6. Ashlyn, which side is the hypotenuse? Is it the empty side, the 11, or the x? It's the 11. If you're struggling with deciding which side is which, make sure you ask. Luke, what is the x? Is it adjacent or opposite of the 37? Yep, it's touching, so it's adjacent. So Sydney, which trig function will I use to set this problem up? Yes, we've got adjacent and hypotenuse, so cosine. And we're not using theta on the front side of the worksheet. We're using whichever angle they give us. Adjacent. How is this different from the other 3 problems that we did? The x is already on top. These ones are faster. They only require 1 step. So Ambrose, I've got x divided by 11. How do I get rid of that 11? Yes. So 1 step. We like this. When you set it up, you're like, please be in the numerator. Please be in the numerator. So you can type that into your calculator. 11 times the cosine of 37. Does it matter if I do times? Well, I wasn't sure if I had to put times in there. I just set them right next to each other. 8.8. So those ones are kind of fun. Now, we haven't done any examples that are tangent, but it's the same idea. It's just if they give you, if you don't have the hypotenuse, you have to use tangent. All right. Whoa. Okay, this is actually a problem from your homework. So will you draw this picture? I would apologize for making you draw this many right triangles, but they're not that bad. There are worse things to have to draw a million times. You might notice that we have a missing angle. We don't know, we know 90 degrees, but we don't, it's not a number anymore, it's theta. So still, I want you to label your hypotenuse. I want you to decide if we have the adjacent or the opposite side. That's going to be important to know because we're going to set it up the same way. Yep, we have theta again. Hippopotamus is 10. Mm-hmm. What have I called on? Kate, sine, cosine, or tangent? You're okay. Which one requires adjacent and hypotenuse? Yes. And we're back to cosine theta. Adjacent over hypotenuse. You don't have to reduce it today because we're not leaving it like this. We're solving. I will show you. We're trying to find out what theta is, so we need to get rid of cosine, right? We need to find out the inverse operation so that the cosine goes away. Okay, look at your calculators above sine, cosine, and tangent. It's blue, I think. What's right above it? And it's printed like on the calculator. Do you see what it says? Does everybody see what we're talking about? They're printed on the calculator. They're not on a button. They're right above the sine, cosine, and tangent. This means the inverse or the opposite. So the opposite of adding is subtracting. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. The opposite of squaring is square rooting. The opposite of cosine, you multiply by this is just the inverse. They're going to cancel each other out. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. This is the only example I was going to do like this, so please make sure you're writing this one down. I'm not doing any more, just the one. Yes, you can. The reason you don't need to is because we're just typing it all into our calculator anyway. Okay, like I said, these two things are opposite. This is like saying 1 minus 1. So these cancel out. When you multiply, so I have, oh, I didn't mean to do the theta. These cancel out. So I've got theta equals 5/10 cosine negative 1. So we just put that into our calculator. So I think I usually do the cosine first. So push your second button, and then your cosine. So push the blue second button, and then cosine. You can see that that inverse pops up. And then 5/10? Ooh, it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Which makes sense with the 5 and the 10, huh? Yes, theta is the angle. So the angle in this equation, in this picture, theta, the angle is 60. Is that what I said? I already forgot. Did you say 60? Oh, 30. Oh, okay. All right. I am going to pass out your worksheets. This may not have been enough examples for some of you. So if you get to one and you're stuck, I hope you wrote them in your notes. Go back and look. You can ask your neighbor, I'm stuck. You can raise your hand. There is only one of me, so I'll get around.